Es fing an mit einem Moment, den ich nicht erlauben sollte, einem Blick, das zu lange gedauert hat, einem Lächeln, das in einem Ort hing, wo es nicht gehörte. Ich suchte nicht nach Trouble, zumindest das habe ich mir selbst erzählt. Aber manchmal fragt Trouble nicht nach Verlass. Es geht rein, sieht dich in die Augen und versucht, dich zu verhalten. Mein Name ist Olivia Turner. Ich bin seit 8 Jahren verheiratet zu David. Er ist freundlich und abhängig. Trouble, the type of man every woman's parents hope she marry. We built a quiet life in Chicago, the kind with dinner at 7, movie nights on Fridays, and polite smiles at neighborhood gatherings. It wasn't perfect, but it was safe. Until Ethan came along. Ethan was the new marketing director at the firm where I worked. Confident, sharp, and charming in a way that made people lean closer when he spoke. The first time I met him, he extended his hand with that easy grin. And when our fingers touched, there was this electric jolt, the kind that wakes up something inside you that's been asleep for too long. I remember laughing it off, pretending it was nothing. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. For weeks, I told myself I was just being friendly, that the late-night brainstorming sessions and coffee runs meant nothing. But every time he brushed past me, or his hand accidentally touched mine when passing a file, my heart betrayed me. There was a tension in the air that neither of us wanted to name, yet both of us kept feeding. David, meanwhile, was distant. He'd been working longer hours, talking less, and smiling even less than that. Our conversations became routine check-ins about bills, groceries, or who was picking up the dry cleaning. The warmth that once wrapped around our home had faded into something cold, something predictable. And in that quiet space of neglect, Ethan's voice became the one I wanted to hear. One evening, after a long day at work, Ethan offered me a ride home. It was raining, the kind of storm that makes the whole city hum with thunder. I hesitated. My conscience whispered that I should call an Uber, that this was crossing a line. But when I looked at him, soaked shirt clinging to his chest, rain dripping from his hair, I forgot every reason I had to say no. We sat in silence as the rain tapped against the windows and the city lights blurred outside. When we reached my street, neither of us moved. He turned to me, eyes dark, voice low. "You know, this isn't just friendship, right?" I could have denied it. I should have. But instead I whispered, "I know." The kiss that followed felt inevitable. It wasn't wild at first. It was hesitant, careful, as if both of us were waiting for the other to stop. But he didn't stop, and neither did I. Every bit of guilt melted away as our lips met, replaced by something intoxicating and dangerous. I knew the moment I let him in, everything would change. That night, I lay awake next to David, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind. I felt torn between two worlds, one built on loyalty and routine, and another built on passion and risk. Every time David shifted beside me, I felt a pang of shame, but also a thrill I couldn't explain. Ethan had awakened something I didn't even know. I'd lost the feeling of being wanted, seen, desired. Days turned into weeks, and what started as stolen glances turned into secret rendezvous. We'd meet after work in quiet corners of the city where no one knew us. Sometimes it was a coffee shop downtown, sometimes a quiet drive by the lake. There was laughter, whispered secrets, and the kind of closeness I hadn't felt in years. But secrets have a way of demanding attention. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, David looked at me and said, "You've been different lately?" His voice wasn't angry, just tired. My heart froze. I wanted to deny it, to brush it off with some excuse, but the look in his eyes told me he already knew. "I'm just tired from work," I said, forcing a smile. But he didn't respond. He just nodded slowly, turned off the light, and lay down. The silence between us was deafening. The next day, I met Ethan at our usual spot, a quiet park bench tucked away behind a coffee shop. I told him David was suspicious. For the first time, Ethan looked uncertain. "Maybe we should stop," he said, eyes searching mine, but I couldn't imagine going back to the life I had before him. "I don't want to stop," I whispered, and we didn't, but love born in secrecy never lasts peacefully. One evening, as I was leaving the office, I saw David's car parked outside. He was waiting. My stomach twisted. When I got in, he didn't speak. He just handed me my phone. Screen opened to a text from Ethan. "Same place tonight?" The world seemed to tilt. I couldn't breathe. He didn't yell, didn't cry. He just looked at me with a kind of sadness I'd never seen before. "I just want to know why," he said quietly. I had no answer. In the days that followed, the house became emptier. David moved into the guest room. We barely spoke. Ethan tried to reach out, but I ignored him. The thrill had vanished, replaced by guilt and regret. I had chased something wild, something alive, but it came at a cost I wasn't ready to pay. Months later, after the dust settled, David and I decided to part ways. No shouting, no bitterness, just an understanding that what was broken couldn't be fixed. I moved into a small apartment across town where the silence was both painful and healing. Sometimes I think about Ethan, about that night in the car when everything changed. I wonder if he ever thinks of me or if I was just a passing story in his life. I don't hate him, and I don't hate myself. I've learned that love, temptation, and loneliness can blur lines faster than we realize. What started as a spark turned into a fire I couldn't control, and even though I walked through the flames and came out burned, part of me still remembers the heat, that dangerous, unforgettable warmth that made me feel alive again.